Welcome once again to The Reading Room, the companion YouTube show to the podcast called The Comic Shop. Today is Thursday, October 26, 2017. We're recording a little early. Our schedule is going to be got a little bit messed up because, first off, we took a week off. We're back in action now. And this coming Sunday, when we sit down to it's our regular recording day, we're going to be recording issue 100 of the podcast, which is going to be something. So we had the opportunity, we wanted to make sure, a little something extra too. We wanted to make sure that we got the reading room recorded in time to put up a new episode, especially since we took last week off.
Couldn't be helped.
Could be helped, true enough. So this will be going up a little bit early. Probably this will be going up on or about the day that we record the podcast. So that is pretty cool. So
Want to get into it?
we're going to go at it. Well, just very quickly, facebook.com/thecomicsshop1, acpodcast1@gmail.com, and look for The Comic Shop at The Comic Shop 1 on Instagram. We get a lot of traffic on Instagram, a lot of interactions on Instagram and on the Facebook page and on some other people's Facebook pages. And we are also on Twitter, but that's just kind of not a lot of activity over there, but that's at TCS Podcast on Twitter. So, that being said, let's dive into it.
Okay. Of course, I brought up the Spider-Man book.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with consistency.
The first appearance of the Iron Spider suit on The Road to Civil War, Amazing Spider-Man number 529.
From 2006.
Yes, I'm sorry, 2006. Straczynski's writing, Ron Garney's penciling, and there you go. Decided the editor-in-chief in 2006. Yep, so they're Peter Parker, Mary Jane, and Aunt May are all living with Tony Stark at this point, in the mansion or at the tower, I'm not sure where it is. But they're in bed, it's noon. Yeah, well, he's Spider-Man, so. This bird, statue, or maybe a real bird, I'm not sure. It's in his
I'm
bedroom.
thinking it's a statue.
Yeah. And Peter hears, Peter? And wakes up, and it's Tony's voice saying, hey, it's noon. I got something down in the lab I want to show you. And he's like, all right, just let me jump in the shower real quick. And Mary Jane sits up, looks at this bird, and says, Tony, tell me this is only audio. He says, yeah, it's only audio. By the way, nice tan. And she covers it up with a bra. No less. This is a lot of stuff about the stuff that's inside the suit. But there's some good comedy here. I'm not going to read all, just two little parts. He's saying about the technology that he put in this new suit. Carbon fibers in the mouth to keep out toxins, short-range GPS microwave communication system, all routed through a computerized control system in the titanium chest piece. Peter says, heat vision? No. Rocket boots? When you're old enough to drive. Oh, come on, Dad!
A lot of Peter Parker being Peter Parker.
Yeah, we
the
like
classic stuff.
But yeah. So, plug-and-play ad for a Spider-Man game. Criminals doing criminal stuff. Like they had just knocked something over and now they're evading police on a freeway. Like a lot of police. And one of them just opens fire with an automatic weapon and it causes a pileup of police. And, well, they're talking about how to get away. And one dude's like, haven't you ever seen cops? You get off the freeway and get stuck in traffic. That's what gets you. You gotta evade the police first.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Right there.
And one of them says, look up, Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
There it is, right there.
Yeah. The other guy's like, I know how he works. He's got a web to stuff. He can't even get to us. There's nothing to web to out here. Well, they didn't know that he's got new web wings. And he says, well, if Tony says it'll work, it should work. I trust him. Unless, of course, this is some kind of elaborate super guy version of pull my finger. So he jumps off as there goes nothing. And he swoops and he swores. These are good for overlays, both of these panels. The guys are like, where'd you go? And the roof rips off. Hey, I left my car keys at home. Can I hitch a ride with you guys? And this guy just peppers the ceiling. And then it shows off more stuff with the new suit. He's got like infravision. You can see through the car, the heat signatures.
59th Street Bridge.
And he's hearing police band.
Mm-hmm.
Something about the police are waiting at the 59th Street Bridge. So what's he do? He grabs a steering wheel with his flaps and starts steering the car. Pretty good stuff. And he's singing.
Yeah, feeling groovy. Yeah, some of the Garfunkel too.
So he takes the car and turns it toward where the police have a little roadblock. And this guy's like, I ain't going back to prison. He just starts spraying. Spidey takes his gun. Car stops. Spidey gets a hostage out of the trunk. And this guy grabs a gun out of the belt of the other guy and takes a pot shot at Spidey, who grabs the hostage, turns around, and gets shot in the back. Well, the suit takes care of small caliber weapons. It looks to be like 38, so it hurts because Spidey's like, ugh!
Yeah.
But, and this also takes place right after that, the other storyline where Pete got beat almost to death and was in the hospital. And the cop is like, he said, I don't get it. The crook is like, I don't get it. I seen you get hurt on TV. You're not invulnerable. That should have killed you. Look, buddy, there's a rumor going around the station about what happened at the hospital. And I think he died. So I wouldn't do anything to upset him. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
And then now they're having a private dinner with Tony Stark. And Tony's laying it out for him. But Peter's like, okay, I know you by now. And I know you didn't do this just cause. So why? And Tony stands up. He starts saying, I'm going to need somebody standing by my side for something that's coming. Somebody I can trust implicitly. So I want to make you my second, my protege. And Peter's like, wow. Sure. Well, no, they're talking about the new team, the new Avengers at this point, Cage, Wolverine, all them. And he says, well, I appreciate the compliment, boss. Now that I've had a chance to play with the rest of the team, I know that every one of them, you can depend on every one of them. Except Logan. Yeah, well, except Logan. There's not one of them that wouldn't put his life on the line for you. Except Logan. Yeah, well, except Logan.
Mary Jane singing. Yeah.
So, yeah. They won't tell him why he needs him to do this yet until he commits to it. So, when he does commit to it, he's like, well, pack your bags. Wait a second. Right here. He says, well, thank you, Peter. It means a great deal to me. So here's a little reading material to get you started. Once you've read it over, give me your thoughts and pack your bags, because we're going to Washington. United States Senate Metahuman Investigation Committee. Dear Mr. Anthony Stark, request the United States Senate, you are hereby summoned to appear before the Senate Metahuman Investigations Committee to testify in closed session on matters concerning
For the
security.
registration on it.
Yeah.
And that's where it leads into that. The proto version, if you will, of the Sokovia Accords that we saw in the movies.
Right. Good stuff.
That is good stuff. Civil War really is a really excellent story.
And
There's a lot of really high
The
quality.
movie didn't really give it justice.
No, well, the movie did.
It was good.
The movie did what it could in the MCU
Yeah.
with it, but I mean, you couldn't do everything obviously for legal reasons. You couldn't even have a conversation about Logan that they just had for legal
Right.
reasons. But I mean, going back to the original source material, Civil War is one of those arcs that really, yeah,
Well,
it's up there for me with like Rock of Ages. It's up there with Blackest Night.
yeah.
You know, it really is.
It's crazy good stuff.
All right, so moving on from there, we're going to introduce the new house book that we've been teasing for the last few weeks, and that is put out by Image, Matt Wagner's passion project, Mage. This is the third. This is issues 1 and 2. I've mentioned issue 0 before on the show, back around the Free Comic Book Day, around that area of the year. This is issues 1. Issues 3 is out. I don't have it yet. It is currently sitting in the pull box at my brick and mortar. I'll be going to get it soon. So this is volume 3 of Mage. Mage started as Matt Wagner's passion project back in the 80s.
Was it an Image book then?
It was a Comico book then. Comico went bankrupt. Comico put it out back in the 80s, and that was Mage, the Hero Discovered. And then Image picked it up in the 90s with Mage, the hero defined. And this is the third volume, and I believe this is going to be the last volume. They're all 3 volumes are 15-issue arcs. And this is Mage, the hero denied. This is Matt Wagner doing the story, and Matt Wagner doing the art. And the colors are by his son, Brennan Wagner.
It is his son.
It is his son. So I still have not done a dive on the previous volumes of Mage. I did enough to know about the story, the background of the story. So we know from talking about it before that the main character is Kevin Matchstick. He's kind of a reincarnation, if you will, of
Pendragon.
King Arthur.
Yeah.
And this is very much magic and mysticism and wizardry in a way, and fairies and orcs and. But I know he draws Excalibur by picking up a physical object and imbuing it with his magical energies. This is but it's very much set in modern. It's all set in modern times.
Yeah.
And we are at this point in Kevin Matchstick's story where he has a wife and he has 2 kids. And he's basically trying to live a life isolated from all of the weirdness that has happened in his past.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all of the weirdness that has happened in his past
says hello.
Comes back to try, kind of at the behest of his one of his ancient enemy, basically his arch enemy, Umbra Sprite, the Umbra Mother. She goes by a couple of different names. And there's a lot of magic wielding action, monsters.
Really good.
It's excellent art. I want to talk a second about the art in this book, and the art and the storytelling too. So basically that's the kind of vein we're talking about. And then you slip over to, the bad side, the good side and the bad side. All have their conversations, and these are the Gracklethorns, the evil witches that are working at the behest of the big bad.
I love that.
The
Magic ATM.
The Magic ATM is interesting. I'm not really sure exactly what it is there, but towards the end of issue 1, we're introduced to him and to his son at the beginning. At the end of issue 1, we're introduced to his wife and his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mommy said a bad word.
Mommy said a bad word because Matchstick came home and said they found us. We have to move again. And apparently this is something that they've been dealing with for a long time.
Yeah.
And that continues in issue 2 with that is kind of cool. The magic, it literally says Magic Croc on it. Because she is a witch.
Alchemist.
Basically.
Maybe? I don't know.
She's a magic wielder who, her job is essentially using her ability to cast spells and concoct potions to protect the family. And there's a lot of cool stuff about it in here, like, don't worry about, I left a confusing trail of magic breadcrumbs when I dropped the youngest off at the preschool, and it's got a wrought iron fence around it, so everything's cool. And it's kind of drawing from those little, it doesn't explain that wrought iron has this mystical, but we've been around stuff like stories like that, so we know exactly. I left a trail of confusion crumbs along. It's just, it's kind of, it's quirky, and it's kind of, it doesn't have to explain why a wrought iron fence is important.
Being that this is the 3rd installment, there
may have been, but even if that's never been mentioned before in the books, it's like we all know that vampires aren't supposed to cross running waters.
Anything in the lore.
Yeah, that it's okay. Well, you don't have to really tell me why. Just it makes sense that it's important that there's a wrought iron gate. And so the end of issue 2.
Oh, that fight is amazing.
Yes, they've been hiding. The daughter is too young to know the difference about anything yet. The older son, the older child, he's kind of coming to an age where he's becoming aware of what's going on around him, and he is witness to his father drawing Excalibur in the form of a pair of hubcaps.
Yep.
And just defeating a pair of, I'm not sure what those things
They
are.
look like satyrs, but they're demonic satyrs.
They're kind of a demonic satyr, kind of a large-scale, massive orc-looking things. And he handles them.
Yeah, quick.
Very quickly. First lesson, never threaten my son. Class dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
So Hugo, yeah, Dad, that was drawing Excalibur. I guess you're old enough. So that's what we got here, is we have a family dynamic, family on the run story, kind of. The art in these books is remarkably simple. And That's not in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's simple in places, but complex in other places.
Well, it's like drawing back to the comparison of how we talked about alien toilet monsters last time. There's a lot of very funky, complicated stuff going on in those pages. There isn't really a lot of complicated stuff going on in these pages because it won't serve this story. I feel a lot of complicated art won't serve this story because you kind of get a sense here that there isn't a whole lot of moral ambiguity with these characters. The good is good, the bad is bad. Mm-hmm. The reasons they make some of the decisions and the conflicts that they have, the inner conflicts that they have, might just be about like Matchstick arguing with his wife about what the next step should be.
Right.
Stuff like that.
And that's like real world stuff.
That just
family
puts
dynamic.
it very much grounds it into the family dynamic of it all. And the writing is also very sparse, not a ton of words.
What is she, some kind of mower?
She's just doing this is my place in the real world to cover my place in the mystical world and help me operate in this place. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Al Pacino's character in Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of that's just the first comparison. I'm not saying there's an actual comparison, but So that's what we got here. This is essentially over the years, Matchstick has been drawn kind of as a self-portrait, and Matt Wagner very much looks like that, a little bit more gray, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying that because there's a picture of him all over the place. But I picked this for the new house book, actually specifically because it's one of the only times that a Zero issue just kind of shouted at me from the racks when I happened to be at the brick and mortar and be like, I know Matt Wagner's name. I know he's done work for DC. And
he's been in both big houses.
I believe he has done it. He did a lot of stuff for like with Neil Gaiman. He did some Batman stuff, Batman Superman or Batman Wonder Woman stuff, I think. So I know his name, and I was like, you know what? It's an issue 0. At random, I have the ability to get off on the ground floor with this
for free.
Not knowing, well, it wasn't free. It was like $1.99. It was on the racks. But not even knowing that it wasn't really the ground floor, there were 2 other buildings that I should have walked through before I got to this point. Not realizing at that point.
It's okay. We can open it back.
Right, that stuff still is extant. So what I'm going to do as we get further into this storyline is I'm going to go back and I'm going to start back with Volume 1, and I'm going to start reading the background of it in conjunction with reading this one. We'll do the same thing with Volume 2. But I also like this because I wanted to stick with something that's very close to a creator's heart, very much a part of, intertwined with his identity as a creator. Matt Wagner's been doing Mage for like 30 years.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so that does say something to his devotion to the character, the storyline. And then he can put the book out, and then it can gain attention. People obviously wanted to see this 3rd volume. So there you go. The
I
introduction.
Didn't even know I wanted to see it.
I didn't know I wanted to see it. As with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah.
We didn't even know we wanted to see it until we saw it. Then we realized, yes, we always did want to see this. Thank you for cluing us in. But we wanted to see this. So there you go. Introduction to the new house book, Mage, The Hero Denied, Volume 3. Issues 1 and 2 of a 15-issue arc by Matt Wagner, and also with his son Brennan doing the colors. And the covers, I like the covers so far.
Oh yeah.
They're very cool. I like the
this negative dynamic.
The positive negative dynamic here, the heroic aspect of this with his son on his shoulders and stuff like that. I mean, it's as a parent, strikes that nerve. So there you go. Okay, so I think that does it.
It does.
This is going to be episode 18 of the Reading Room. So like I said at the beginning, facebook.com/thecomicshop1, acpodcast at acpodcast1@gmail.com. Facebook page is always the best way to get a hold of us.
Oh, yeah.
Find us on Instagram. Look for The Comic Shop, at The Comic Shop 1, and at TCS Podcast on Twitter. keep an eye on that Instagram page. We get a lot of interactions with people. Some of this stuff is going to be coming to fruition within the next few weeks, and we're going to see some stuff happen and some conversations had and some very, very cool things by way of the podcast. So there you go. So today is the 26th of October. You should see this up probably somewhere in the neighborhood of Sunday the 29th of 2017. This is Scott.
Yes, I am.
My name is Eric.